folks on the Upper West Side with their adorable tyke. Life is hectic, sometimes apoplectic. A big gay family you wanna know. So say hello. The Judy Show!
Good evening. I'm Leslie Hoban Blake.
And I am the aforementioned Charles Gross. How are you tonight, Leslie?
I'm really looking forward to the new season. How do you feel about it?
It's very exciting. I
Yeah,
think there's
I
going to be
think so.
some very interesting things. We'll see if they meet expectations.
We still have a couple of
Hopefully
things
they
from
will.
the old season to take care of.
Well, we actually have started the new season, and we're starting with Rent. Now, the New
but
World...
that's the old season. Sorry.
Well...
Couldn't resist.
All right. Well, it's actually a new production, and normally the New World stages is where old Broadway musicals go to be downsized and to have cheaper tickets, and so the audience can have a more intimate experience. And it's actually worked out very well for shows such as Avenue Q. In this case, Rent actually ended its Broadway run, I think like a 16-year run, 3 years ago. And this is a restaged but not a radical revision.
Not of the script, but definitely of the staging.
I wouldn't call it radical, but I would certainly call it updated and rethought. But again, not radically. You'll still recognize this as Rent, and you find some differences. But
Well, I think it doesn't change the time period. It's still the 80s,
correct.
which is very important. The 90s, rather. I'm sorry. It's still the 90s, which is very important. But the set, which is by Mark Wendland, who did also the sets from Merchant of Venice. I'm beginning to recognize him by these metallic moving sets that he does. The sets cause Michael Greif, who's the same director,
Right.
to
As the
suddenly
original.
become very muscular and active. It's the most athletic bunch of people I've ever seen, especially Mimi, who's supposed to be, she winds herself around these things and does push-ups and pull-ups, and unless they didn't do that the night you were there, they certainly did when I was there.
Push-ups or pull-ups, and the set is multi-level. It's frankly a little more dangerous than the original set. They effortlessly make some of the steps, and at times I'm wondering, are they going to have like a Spider-Man?
Well, unfortunately
over there.
not.
But the original set was on different levels. And, Mimi slinked and slanked around. What I notice is different, and maybe because this is my fourth time seeing Rent, I noticed that when Rent first opened off-Broadway, that I was about the same age as the characters. Somehow I'm not anymore.
Well.
I was there with my teenage daughter, who tells me that there are two shows that every teenage daughter wants to see. One is Rent, and the other is Wicked. So I guess Idina Menzel is now a teenage icon because she was in both of them. What I found interesting about this production is that when I originally saw Rent, I just found the first act to be such a high, so kinetic. The songs really grabbed me. Then the second act was a bit of a letdown. And here it feels like more of a straight line. I didn't quite get the highs of the first act, but I didn't quite get the lows of the second act.
Well, the second act opens with Season of Love, and that was just, you just jump out of your seat when that comes on. So the second act started with a bang for me, and it wasn't done the same way exactly. It wasn't like one person taking the lead on it the same way. Everybody seemed to be equal. The thing for me about this was that the two guys, Anthony Rapp, and I don't remember who the other one was in the original. You would know, you saw it 4 times, but in the original, I don't remember.
3 times. This was the 4th.
Anthony Rapp made the role of Mark his own. He had a particular, with the scarf and the whole thing.
Okay, given that he originated that,
I know, but this guy didn't have that. Whereas the guy who played Roger in this,
Adam Chandler Barrett.
Thank you. Adam Chandler Barrett, I think his name is. Anyway, he, I thought, made a very interesting and believable Roger. Mark was a cipher for me this time.
Now that's interesting because I found both of them to be fairly bland. Mark, you kind of expect to blend in because he's the observer. Yeah. And I've always thought that was the problem with Rent, because we see a lot of it through Mark's eyes. Mark is distant. We are distant. So in the second act, one of the major characters dies of AIDS. And I've never really felt the emotion that I always felt that you should, because he was a beloved character. This is the character of Angel. Very nicely played, by the way, by M.J. Rodriguez.
Very nice.
I liked him. I liked his moves. I liked the way he danced.
Lovely.
on that.
But I also, well, again, for me, this is coming after just seeing twice, well, 3 times if you count the reading, after seeing The Normal Heart.
Right.
It was a progression, and suddenly Rent made much more sense to me after seeing The Normal Heart. The Normal Heart is the beginning of the AIDS crisis. Rent being in the 90s when people are living with this, so that Angel dies is a surprise. You don't expect Angel to die. Everybody in Normal Heart dies, but in Rent, you figure they've got the cocktail, they know what to do, and they're not going to die.
Which is all the more reason that it should have an emotional impact.
And it did. I have to tell you that it did for me.
It never has for me.
But I also did want to mention the young lady playing Mimi, who I thought was just superb.
Really?
And I really did. I know Daphne Rubin Vega originated the role, and
beautifully.
And yes, and all of that. But I'm trying to find her name, and I'm not coming up with it.
That would be
here it is.
Ariandra Fernandez.
Yes.
Yes.
Arianda Fernandez.
Now,
and I thought she was dynamic.
I thought she was wild. I thought during the come out number she was going to turn into a werewolf or something.
I thought that was fabulous.
I had one problem with her, and it was a big one. She's an alto. And Mimi really cries out for a soprano. So like when she was trying to hit the high notes and come out, it was like she had to swallow it. And that really, so the number, and that's her signature number as far as I'm concerned. And that really, I felt hurt the performance.
I have to be honest with you. I don't really know, other than Seasons of Love, I don't really know the music from Rent that well. I have never listened to the album. I did see the play. I did see the movie. Seasons of Love was the one that, I walked out singing all the time.
Seasons of Love is this wonderful song, but it's got, you look at the title song, you look at one song, Glory, which Roger sings. This is the song, he's describing to write. The number that between Roger and Mimi when they first meet, and then I should tell you. I mean, it's a wonderful score. I think Larson really, who tragically, not only did he tragically die before the first performance of Rent, he died of something other than AIDS, which really caused, opened people's eyes, and it did cause a focus on Rent. I think Rent would have done well regardless. But I've always felt that had he lived a bit longer to really, I consider Rent to be unfinished.
I think you're probably right.
And I really think that there was more, and had its creator lived, it would have been a much better musical. It still has a wonderful score, but I find it incomplete, much as I enjoyed it.
And this particular production of it, I mean, didn't grab you?
It didn't grab me, but again, it didn't disappoint me as much in the second act.
So what would you give
either.
it?
Well, I'm not ready to quite rate it yet. I just want to say a word about Annalee Ashford as Maureen, Mark's ex-girlfriend who turned lesbian and is now dating Joanne, a Harvard-trained lawyer who was reduced to being Maureen's sound person, and that's Corbin Reed. Now, this is a very different take on the lawyer, on Joanne, because this woman is drop-dead gorgeous and sexy, and I've never seen it portrayed that way before. In fact, there's this one wonderful number called the Tango Maureen, which Joanne and Mark are doing. They both dated Maureen, so they're kind of comparing notes. And the way they tango, it's hot. I half expect her to dump Maureen and go with Mark. And this is one number where Joanne is upset because everybody wants Maureen. And I'm thinking, well, why don't people want Joanne? She's also quite beautiful. And my daughter explained that Maureen actually dresses hot, and Joanne dresses like a lawyer, so that may have something.
And which one did you think was hotter of the two?
I actually thought Joanne was hot. I like Maureen.
Interesting choice. Yes.
I like Maureen. She does this performance art number, and you can just tell that it's ridiculous, but and it's supposed to be. And she pulls it off. What I get most out of Rent is there was so much potential with this composer. I mean, Jonathan Larson longed to be Stephen Sondheim, and I think he might have been the next Sondheim.
Never gonna know.
I would also say, if you can ever see an earlier work that he had called Tick, Tick, Boom.
I've seen it.
Which goes over a lot
I really didn't like Tick, Tick, Boom
I
at all.
loved it. I actually thought it was a better Rent. I think when he talks about a struggling artist, he actually covers that a lot more potently.
Well, obviously,
than he does
really
in Rent.
have a lot to. You feel a lot about this. I know we have a lot of other things to cover tonight, but I
so
mean,
we do have to move on. Yes.
Did you want to give it its?
I would give it a 3.5.
I'd say about that. I mean, I might give it a 4. I had a good time. I seem to have liked it more than you.
My daughter would give it 5.